Greetings, friends, and welcome once again to the Creation Soapbox, brought to you by your friends here at abitoforange.com. Today, part 2, the evolutionary story. What is the evolutionary story? Well, we all agree that evolution tells a story, and here it is. Once upon a time, in the beginning, nothing created the heavens and the earth. First, there was nothing. No time, no space, no matter, and no energy. And then, it exploded! Now, here is a scale model of the history of life according to Big Bang cosmology / evolutionary theory. This timeline is 1 inch is 16 years, or a 16th of an inch is 1 year. So the creation timeline, the approximately 6,000 years of Earth history according to Genesis, would be about 30 feet long. It's too small to see on this scale, but herein is all of the key important points of evolutionary history, starting with the creation of the universe for no apparent reason. So, off on the coast of California, there was the Big Bang. First there was nothing, then it exploded. Somewhere about Chicago, the first stars start to form. Over the course of the Atlantic, over billions of years, there are many stars forming and dying, perhaps 1 or 2 generations of different stars. Our sun and planets form somewhere near Turkey, so somewhere on the edge of the Middle East over there. The first life on Earth evolved somewhere on the west side of China. And the first dinosaurs, actually all of the dinosaurs, evolve, live, and then die out somewhere in the ocean between China and Japan. Somewhere in Japan, you find modern humans evolving. Modern humans on this theory evolved about 100,000, maybe 200,000 years ago, depending on who you ask. Now, when I say modern humans, I mean the species that we are today has existed on this theory for 100,000 to 200,000 years. Evolutionary history is something like this. About 4.5 billion years ago, the Earth formed when a bunch of pebbles and rocks and dirt just kind of fell together and formed a big ball. So there was rocks, and somewhere water also fell to the Earth somehow. We're a little bit uncertain to where that came from, but we wound up with a whole lot of water, and then it rained on the rocks for millions of years, and that turned into soup. And the soup somehow both wrote some DNA and built a cell for the DNA to live in, or maybe it built a cell and then also wrote the DNA that codes for that cell and helps the cell to be able to split into other cells so that there can be future generations. It's a little ambiguous too. We don't really know how that happened. By we don't know how that happened, I mean nobody even has an educated guess. But evolutionarily speaking, we're certain it must have, because here we are. So we had something like a bacteria as our first common universal ancestor, and then somewhere along the way that diversified into what was the first common ancestor between plants and animals, which I have here imagined to be the cabbage wolf, because if you follow its subsequent generations to today, one branch led to cabbage and the other led to the wolf. Now, the wolf we believe to be the ancestor of all modern dogs. So what I've done here is I've represented some of the different species of pet shop dogs. We have 300 to 400 different varieties of dog throughout the world today, and we're pretty sure that most, if not all of them, came from some ancestral wolf kind. Now, the biblical account, of course, is that some dog kind went onto the ark with Noah, and then all of the dogs that exist now are descended from that ancestral wolf pair. To give you a better idea of how the evolutionary story takes place once life emerges, here is the entire evolutionary history of life on Earth. There's a very long first chapter where there's nothing but single-celled wee terrible beasties like bacteria. So first it rained on the rocks for millions of years, producing the prebiotic soup. Somehow the soup arranged into the first living, self-replicating cells with genetic information. This is the entire history of life on Earth from beginning to today. What happened between bacteria and all of the different kinds of plants and animals, the different phyla, is what we call the Cambrian Explosion. The Cambrian Explosion happened pretty quickly. First there were bacteria, and then boom, there was kind of everything else. The Cambrian Explosion is kind of like this. Imagine your favorite Saturday morning cartoon. You have a team of good guys on tricycles for 26 minutes, with no additional motors or extra wheels, just tricycles. Then over the course of 4.5 seconds, they figure out how to turn their tricycles into multiple different large robot lions, which then join up into one massive robot defender of the universe. A few minutes later, that show is over. Evolution's kind of like that. So the Cambrian Explosion is when bacteria suddenly developed all of the genetic information it takes to create worms and sponges and trilobites and all these different kinds of plants and animals. We don't know how they did it, but they did it quick. I hope you enjoyed this Bit of Orange. Thanks for joining us. If you want to see more of what we got, check us out at abitoforange.com or in our YouTube channel. And as always, thanks for watching. And remember, Jesus loves you.